proclaim July 2nd, 2024 to be the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act Title VI Day.
Colleagues, our next item, as you just heard, is a proclamation recognizing the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act and proclaiming Title VI Day, which is July 2nd. As we all know, this is legislation of profound historical significance, laying the foundation for non-discrimination in public programs and services, and paving the way for critical legislation such as the Voting Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. I appreciate that Council has the opportunity this morning to reflect on this critical work. To begin, I'll introduce Jeff Selby, Interim Director of the Office of Equity and Human Rights. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, community members, colleagues, mayor, and city commissioners. I'm Jeff Selby. I use he, him pronouns, and I have the privilege of directing the Office of Equity and Human Rights. We're here today to honor the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the ongoing fight for justice. By City Council ordinance, the Office of Equity and Human Rights is charged with setting the equity policy for the City of Portland. Our Civil Rights Title VI and Language Access Program staff work to ensure the city is compliant with our federal obligations under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. This is why celebrating and honoring the 60th anniversary of this landmark law is so important. Title VI specifically provides a framework for the City of Portland to build fairness and justice into policies that help us better serve the public as we center systemically excluded and institutionally oppressed community members. We've accomplished a lot as a city, including adopting equity as a core value, adopting and implementing the city's first Title VI plan and compliance plan policies, and establishing and implementing the city's first language access and language pay differential policies. We have so much more work to do, of course, as a city, but it's important to celebrate our successes. This work is being performed at a high level of expertise and passion by our citywide Civil Rights Title VI team, Dr. Cheryl Felicia Means, Sabra Purifoy, Erin Garber-Paul, and Manager Danielle Brooks, and our citywide Language Access Program Manager, Tatiana Elahalde. Thanks also to the rest of the Office of Equity staff, all equity managers and practitioners for moving this work forward as well. In 2015, Congressman John Lewis returned to Selma, Alabama on the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act, where he and other civil rights marchers crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge. "We come to Selma to be renewed," he said. "We come to be inspired. We come to be reminded that we must do the work that justice and equality calls us to do." And I know the Office of Equity in the City of Portland will continue to heed that call. Before I get to our guests, I want to acknowledge Sabra Purifoy from our civil rights team who coordinated all this today. She is ill and unable to join us, but she did the heavy lifting to make today's celebration possible. Now I'd like to introduce our special guests. I am honored to introduce the Northwest Freedom Singers. The original Freedom Singers began in the South in the 1960s during the then burgeoning civil rights movement. The singers helped spread the work of the civil rights movement, traveling all over the United States, empowering and educating audiences through communal song. Ron Silver formed the Northwest Freedom Singers in honor of the original group. We are honored to have them performing for us today. Please join me in welcoming the Northwest Freedom Singers.
Good morning, everyone, Mr. Mayor, council members. Judith Mowry asked me to just say a couple words in introduction before we started to sing for y'all. And I retired after 33 years as an assistant United States attorney and did a lot of civil rights work for most of that time. Since I retired in 2015, I've spent most of my time as a civil rights educator, working with young folks and adults throughout the Northwest. And what I've seen is over time, since I retired, there has been a push throughout the country to basically not let me talk about what I talk about in many of our states. From a civil rights high of 1875, we reached a nadir as a republic in the world of civil rights that required the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And what I think we are seeing in real time in our lives is much of our country wants to go back to 1890 in the world of non-civil rights. So in that spirit, it's really important that we not just honor the history, honor the Rights Act of 64 and voting rights of 65, but realize that it's a constant struggle, and we're in it right now. And because we're talking about civil rights, you can't do civil rights without civil rights music. And so in 1963, when the children marched in Birmingham, before they went out to march, they sang. They sang to get ready to march. They sang when they marched. And we're going to do two songs for you today. Woke up this morning with my mind on freedom, and ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. And you would have heard those songs at every demonstration you went to. Now, I have to ask, are we singing that way or are we singing towards you?
Whatever your preference is.
With all due deference, I think we'd like to sing that way.
That's perfect.
You have to move the mic. I think you have to move the mics, don't you?
Woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom. I said I woke up this morning with my mind set on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, I'm a walking and talking with my mind staying on freedom. I'm a walking and talking with my mind staying on freedom. You know, walking and talking with my mind staying on freedom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. I'm gonna walk, 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 walk. I'm gonna walk, walk with my mind on freedom. Walk, 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 walk. I'm gonna walk, walk with my mind on freedom. Walk. I'm gonna walk, 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 'cause there ain't no harm to keep your mind, to keep it steady, steady, ain't no harm to keep your mind, no harm to keep it steady, steady, ain't no harm to keep your mind, keep it steady, oh, freedom, hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. The voice, Mario the priest. Sister Antoinette Saunders, Sister Rosie Loving. We all met 24 years ago as members of the Northwest Community Gospel Choir, and we still keep singing. And now I'm turning it over to Sister Rosie Loving, who's going to do a little preaching.
If you feel like standing up when I sing, be happy.
You guys hear okay, baby?
Yeah, loud and clear. You bet.
Nobody turn me around, no, turn me around. I said, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let vote suppression turn me around. Turn me around. I said, turn me around. Ain't gonna let vote suppression turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let gun violence turn me around.
turn me round. Gonna keep on walking, I'm gonna keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I said, turn me round. Turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking. I said, keep on walking, keep on talking. Yes, keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
Well, thank you to the Northwest Freedom Singers, and thank you, Jeff, for your presentation. Thank you for the uplifting performance. I think that's just what we need, and frankly, I think that's more of what our society needs on a regular basis. So, down here taking time out of what I'm sure are busy schedules and sharing not just with us here in the council and the people in the chamber, but everybody who accesses this online as well. Thanks for your generosity in sharing your great gift to lift all of our spirits. At this point, I'll entertain comments from my colleagues. I'll start with Commissioner Maps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start out by thanking our guests for joining us today, and I want to thank you for that powerful song. And colleagues, I also want to say this. I'm proud to join this council in celebrating the 60th anniversary of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Now, of course, as we've learned today, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination in public places, provides for the integration of schools, and makes employment discrimination illegal. And Title VI of the Civil Rights Act says that if a program receives money from the federal government, that program cannot discriminate against people based on race, color, or place of national origin. Of course, Title VI applies to the city of Portland, and this council embraces the values embedded in that legislation, which is what this proclamation is all about. On the 60th anniversary of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, this council honors those who fought for civil rights, and we recognize that more action is needed to achieve the full promise of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which is why I'm so proud to join you in this proclamation, and I encourage all Portlanders to engage in these celebrations. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Maps. Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you. I just first want to say thank you to everyone for bringing this timely proclamation forward, and to Rosie, Amber, Ron, and all of the Freedom Singers. Thank you so much for moving us, not just with your knowledge and the words of the songs, but with your hearts. And it's just every time you sing, and I've heard you sing over the years now, and it's just, you move a place in me, and I'm sure all of us, that needs to be moved, and more often. And it just fills me with hope and inspiration, and it's truly what we need in the world right now. So thank you for that special gift. One of the most important civil rights acts right now that's ever passed in the history of the United States is under attack. And we're seeing it play out all across the country in big and small ways, which is frightening, including in institutions we once regarded as immovable and protectors of these values and rights, and that's now shaky. So we need to do everything we can to lift up how important they are, and to make sure that we're turning the tide so that we're preventing anything from moving further backward. So it falls on all of us. We can't normalize these rollbacks. We need to continue to keep the flame for justice and civil rights alive and bright in whatever ways that we can every day, in our schools, workplaces, everywhere we gather. And so I want to honor this 60th anniversary, which opened the doors for so many. And quite frankly, for some of us, it enabled even some of us to be sitting up here on this council. So let's make sure that we keep the connection to important historic moments like that alive and present for the next generation so that they understand the impact of these things. We need to know our history, and it matters. So we need to share that and make sure our young people know that history as well. It's vitally important to keep continuing to open doors, hold them open, and if needed, to knock them down still, so that we can ultimately realize our community's full potential. So I just appreciate living and working in this community with leaders and organizers and musicians and singers who bring their full selves and their hearts into this work and living these values and fighting for these values every day. So thank you for being here. Thank you for reminding us once again about our history, and that it's up to all of us to keep it alive.
Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Commissioner Ryan.
Yes. Thank you for taking us to the upper room this morning. The mayor's right. We really needed it. At least I did. Standard spirituals is exactly what I kind of wish we did this at the beginning of every council session, especially when we have really difficult issues to discuss that remind me of the song. Sometimes I feel like anytime you're doing what's right and just, you're you're walking up an escalator that's coming down. And if you don't keep walking, we'll go right back down to those dark times. So thank you so much for reminding us and again, taking us to the upper room. I'm reflecting on a play I went to in Ashland I don't know, it must have been 10 years ago. It was the play about LBJ during that time. And they did a really good job of showing what a big struggle that was, and kind of taking advantage of JFK's death, where people just had a little bit of compassion to listen a bit differently. And so you always try to take care of those moments. And anyway, I just was reflecting on how moving that play was and how many great actors were involved. And I think it went all the way from Ashland to New York and won a Tony. I'm a theater geek, so I had to put that in. Anyway, thanks for being here this morning. We really needed it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ryan. I think this has been a tremendous opportunity. I want to thank you for giving us this opportunity once again to not just celebrate, but reaffirm our city's commitment to human rights. This proclamation honors the monumental 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act and Title VI, which safeguards against discrimination in programs and activities receiving federal funding. It's a tribute to the courageous trailblazers who fought 60 years ago, and a recognition of the ongoing efforts across our nation to uphold these fundamental rights. Reflecting on our city's history, it was over a decade ago that this city council established the Office of Equity and Human Rights, ensuring our steadfast commitment to these principles. Today serves as a poignant, and I would also say fun reminder of the expectations that we set for Portland, a city that we like to uphold as standing as a beacon of progress and resilience. Moreover, while recent years have presented significant challenges for all of us, we have not let them dampen our hope or our resolve for a brighter future. Instead, let us use this moment to celebrate the indomitable spirit of our communities and the enduring strength of our city, and express our deep gratitude to all civil rights pioneers, both here in our own community as well as beyond. Thank you, everyone, for your commitment to justice and to equality. Let us continue to work together, inspired by those who paved the way and motivated by the future we envision for our community and those who follow us. In honor of today's proclamation, there will be a reception in the lobby of the 1900 building from 10:30 to noon, hosted by the Office of Equity and Human Rights. We encourage everybody who would like to participate to do so. Now I'll read the proclamation on behalf of the Portland City Council. Whereas the Civil Rights Act was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on July 2nd of 1964. And whereas this landmark piece of legislation has played a pivotal role in dismantling legal segregation, paving a path for civic, political, educational, and economic progress and opportunity, and lending to a wave of other civil rights laws and new protections, such as the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Fair Housing Act, and the Americans with Disabilities Act. And whereas included amongst the Civil Rights Act's 11 titles is Title VI, which provides protection from discrimination based on race, color, or national origin in federally funded programs, services, and activities. Additional regulations and executive orders since enacted have expanded and grown civil rights Title VI obligations and responsibilities to include environmental justice, language access, the advancement of equity, and support of underserved communities through government. The City of Portland, as a recipient of federal funding, is subject to Title VI. And whereas, despite significant progress, entrenched systemic and institutional racism creates and sustains barriers and disparities that negatively impact communities of color, immigrant and refugee communities, and other systemically excluded communities in housing, employment, income, health, education, transportation, and frankly, all major aspects of life. And whereas nationally, the protections and progress of the civil rights movement are being eroded, undermined, and attacked. And whereas the City of Portland acknowledges the responsibilities and the role of government in addressing the pervasive disparities faced by communities of color, immigrant and refugee communities, and other institutionally oppressed communities, because such discrimination poses a threat to health, safety, and welfare of our entire community, and humbly acknowledges that we have much work yet to do. And whereas the City of Portland strives to uphold and practice its core values of anti-racism, equity, transparency, communication, collaboration, and fiscal responsibilities in support of community members as well as our own employees here at the City of Portland. And whereas the City of Portland is committed to its core values through embodying the objectives of the Civil Rights Act to assure that no person on the grounds of race, color, or national origin, including limited English proficiency, shall be excluded from participation in, denied the benefits of, or otherwise be subjected to discrimination, including disparate treatment or disparate impact in the city's programs, services, activities, or administrative acts as required by Title VI. And whereas City Council created the Civil Rights Title IV and Equity Program and the Language Access Program in the Office of Equity and Human Rights to work with partners across all city bureaus to coordinate the city's civil rights, racial equity, and language access efforts, and help the city become a national leader in defining and achieving equitable outcomes and eliminating disparities amongst Portlanders. And whereas Portland honors those who fought and continue to fight for civil rights and celebrates 60 years of increased opportunities and access for communities of color, immigrant and refugee communities, and other systemically excluded communities, while recognizing that continued action is necessary to achieve the full promise of equity, equal protection, and justice for all. And whereas the City of Portland shall continue to identify and implement solutions to improve equity and uphold the ideas that the Civil Rights Act represents, and do all that is necessary to ensure that all people can thrive. Now, therefore, I, Ted Wheeler, Mayor of the City of Portland, Oregon, the City of Roses, do hereby proclaim July 2nd of 2024 to be the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act Title VI Day in Portland, and encourage all residents to observe this day. Thank you.